Hello, my name is Katina Wood-Sistrunk, a graduate student in the Journalism and Creative Media program at the University of Alabama. I'm excited to talk to you about my research topic, which explores the tense relationship between broadcast media and religion, specifically Christianity in the 20th century. Our class textbook, The Media in America, A History, was the impetus for this research topic. What I found between its pages was a rich history showcasing the symbiotic relationship between the media and religion in early America, which started with the printing press and carried over into the 20th century with radio. But as time passed and different forms of media began to emerge, specifically television, broadcast media, religion was no longer front and center in mainstream media. Media seemed to have a disregard for religion, and religious leaders began to see the media as a threat. I was curious about this decline. Why was it happening? And who's responsible for relieving this tension? Religious leaders or media professionals? Although the class textbook provided the motivation for my research topic and a foundation to build upon, it was necessary for me to search for other sources through the University of Alabama library. I used broad search terms that would give me a broader choice of sources, from ebooks to journals, articles, and even newspapers on the topic of religion and media. So I started very generally. And then I used very specific terms that narrowed my search to Christianity and broadcast media. The articles I read also provided other sources in its bibliography to consider as well. Honestly, I expected to find a sea of research out there on the topic of Christianity and the media, broadcast media. However, it was limited. And this was very surprising to me, since Christianity is considered a mainstream religion in Western culture. But I came across a few articles that suggested several reasons for the exclusion of religion from mainstream media. These explanations range from the indifference of editors and producers on the topic to the lack of religious knowledge on behalf of the journalists, to religious leaders who close themselves and their congregation off from mainstream media. I was able to find sources that support the idea of journalists increasing their religious knowledge. The argument was made that this increase in religious knowledge would lead to a more well-developed, newsworthy story that educated and informed the public. I also found sources that support the idea that the topic of religion is ignored in mainstream media. Yet the majority of articles that I read offered no real solution, and I was looking for solutions to the issue. But then I came upon a statement from Pope John Paul II, issued January 24th, 1989. Pope John Paul II noted that the relationship between the media and the public is, quote, marked by incompleteness, end quote. He goes on to write that the media must not be looked upon as a threat to the church, but as a gift. Pope John Paul II admonished both the media and religious leaders to work together. He admonished the church to have an attitude of full participation while holding to the basic tenets of its faith in an effort to keep its message unstained. In his estimation, journalists must adhere to the highest standards of professionalism in the media of every kind and discipline. It's important to note that Pope John Paul II wasn't asking journalists to convert, but to simply practice their craft ethically while presenting the religious message with authenticity and care. I felt that this was a balanced approach that placed the responsibility of reconciliation between religion and broadcast media on the shoulders of both religious leaders and media professionals. Although there was limited research out there on the topic of Christianity and the media, I was able to find a plethora of research that focused on Muslim groups and the media. The majority of research that focused on this group provided no real solutions to the issue of stereotypical reporting that that this group has faced since the turn of the 21st century. Yet I was able to find a few articles that discuss solutions to counter the negative portrayal of Muslim groups. I applied those solutions to Christianity, seeing the commonality between both groups, Islam and Christianity, both being Abrahamic religions. One example entitled Images of Muslims in Western Scholarship and Media After 9/11, written by El Said Aswad. Said cites results of a Pew Research Center 2009 survey that suggests getting acquainted with Muslims proved to be a far more positive experience than receiving glimpses of negative images portrayed by the media. These results would suggest that a possible approach to curtailing stereotypes and fears toward religious groups is for journalists to simply acquaint themselves with these religious communities to balance both negative and positive images with context. I rounded out my research just really wanting to define religion in hopes that a comprehensive definition would lend to a better understanding among journalists of those who have an affinity for religion. What I discovered is that while religion helps millions of people navigate and find meaning in this world, there is widespread disagreement on what religion means. But I was able to narrow it down through research to at least 3 definitions. These definitions are cited by V.S. Harrison in the article entitled The Pragmatics of Defining Religion in a Multicultural World. Harrison provides an intellectual, effective, and functional definition of religion. The intellectual definition proposes that religion is the belief in an ever-living God. The effective definition of religion regards faith and emotions as essential components of religion. By this definition, religion is inclusive not only of one's intellectual belief in an ever-living God, but one's response to their experience with their God. The third and final definition of religion is the functional definition that regards reconciliation as an essential component. Although all 3 definitions are not inclusive of all religions, it is a good starting point, I feel, because it helps us make some sense of a very complex term. I felt that it was important to attempt to define religion so that we understand that it's not a one-dimensional matter, and our religious coverage shouldn't be either. What I am more persuaded of now after my research is that both media professionals and religious groups equally bear responsibility in easing the tension that has long existed between them. Journalists must approach religious groups respectfully, upholding the ethics and practices of the journalistic profession, and not specifically those of the religious groups they cover. Journalists should increase their knowledge of religious groups, which may help to curtail stereotypes and fears that are perpetuated in today's religious news coverage. In regard to religious groups, they must see the media not as a threat, but as a gift, an opportunity not only to open itself up to inquiry, but to create persuasive, newsworthy events while holding to its basic tenets of faith. I have enjoyed sharing my research experience with you, and I hope that it has enriched you as well. Again, my name is Katina Wood-Sistrunk, graduate student in the Journalism and Creative Media program at the University of Alabama. Thank you for watching.